Hello everybody, good afternoon to you from Glastonbury Abbey. I'm just going to wait as always for some people to join the live, but this live has been permeating for a while now because I'm noticing people struggling across the board, so really this live is for people that find themselves in struggle right now in these timelines, or maybe you don't right now and you do next week or the week after. This video will be on Facebook on my wall. I'll save it there, and then you can also access it on YouTube if you can't figure out Facebook, okay, on the YouTube channel. Okay, so just waiting. I can see we've got plenty of people here, so I'm just waffling until you get in the house, or the Abbey as it is. This is where we are today. We're in Glastonbury Abbey. I don't know how I'm going to say everything I'm going to say. I would just trust that what's supposed to be said gets said, and what gets forgotten isn't supposed to be said. That's all I can do, because my brain is going at such a rate now of information. Basically where I am at, it's going at that rate, but then I'm watching people, awakened people and also unawakened, and they're struggling, and so my brain is going over there wanting to support people, knowing that everybody is at a different consciousness point of perception. So when you know that every single person in your reality has their own unique perceptual point, there's almost no reason to say anything to them, because they can only see from the point they're at, and I can only see from the point I'm at. However, we do share this collective ascension of Mother Earth, of humanity, and of the universe. So there are things that we share that are generic for all of us, but in terms of our day-to-day experience, it's just one point of perception, and you have yours, and you have yours, and you have yours. So it's incredibly difficult to support people as a whole, because everybody is their unique perception, if that makes sense. And so it's really hard to know where to start and what to include and what not to include, because it's like this. There's so many different points of consciousness now within humanity. Okay, so I want to talk a little bit about the whole picture in terms of struggle, in terms of humanity, and the sort of whole spectrum of humanity. I want to talk a little bit about that to try and give some guidance to some people. But then what I really want to go into detail of is something I spoke about maybe a year or 2 years ago, which many people awakened are now in. And because I'm sensing a lot of awakened people are in this point I know about, I want to put the support there in more detail than anywhere else, because then hopefully it helps more people. So in terms of people that are unawakened yet, this whole worldly experience that is presenting to us, it's designed to help unawakened people awaken. The whole, and I'm not going to use any of the words, okay, but the whole of what started in March last year, generally speaking it was March last year, that you have to try and see that as a catalyst and nothing more, because there's so much more to come. That was literally the spark, and we're still experiencing, or people unawakened are still in that, and they're still coping with it. The way that all of us awoke, if you recall your own awakening and my awakening, was through trauma, was through pain, suffering, having enough. You've had enough of experiencing life a certain way. Real mental, emotional struggle. And so if we look at what the world is presenting to people that are unawakened, more and more and more and more and more and more, it's to kickstart them awakened. And how does that happen? It happens by them questioning the world around them. And that's how it happened for us as individuals. No matter when you awoke, you questioned the world around you. And that questioning comes from different points of perception. There's no right or wrong questioning. The point is, the person becomes the seeker of themselves, which in truth is God seeking itself through all of us. So, you know, that major thing last year, it is a catalyst. You have to see the bigger picture, not be in the trenches, not be in the mire of it all. Because if you're in those trenches and in the mire and in the frustration of world events, guess what? Your frequency is also going to be there. The greatest thing any one of us can do is raise our energetic frequency, be in our light field that is all around us, and in this timeline, accelerating so much. It's expanding and expanding and expanding around our physical vessel and within our physical vessel. So I've completely gone off track. I need to get back to the point. This is what happens, isn't it? Obviously, you know, what I say, and what I forget, I have no idea. I'll be ignorant of what I forget. So that's okay for me. But back to unawakened. It's through trauma, through pain, through loss, through suffering, that we individually question the world around us, and then we seek answers. And the only way to seek answers at that point of consciousness, that is the predominant consciousness being experienced by that unawakened person, the only way at that point is to seek via the mind. So question, and then you find an answer, unexpected answer, or you're given an experience, unexpected. You have more questions and more questions and more questions. So this is why last year happened. It had to be a worldwide event that affected everybody, no matter their personal circumstances, no matter whether they were old or young, no matter whether they are rich or poor, no matter their skin color, no matter their sex. It's a catalyst, no more than a catalyst. So things have got to get more intense within that third dimensional environment. And they are. And I said a few months ago, we're going to reach the boiling point. Things have got to be more intense for that type of perception, which we call unawakened, for them to wake up in a different way than us. But nevertheless, they're serving in their role of awakening more and more and more people in the world. Now, I want to go to the 4D, which is you know, we can loosely term the awakened people. I just want to speak about one type of perception there, and I'm really generalizing, so please forgive me, because there's so many different perceptions there. the whistleblowers, the truth seekers, the warriors of light, whatever you want to call the people that speak up and speak out within the spiritual community that is 4D. They too are playing their role for the unawakened. They're helping the unawakened. They're this source or this point of reference for the unawakened that are unawakened, and then they awake, and then they're in their minds. So there are people awakened that chose to take that role of being the ones that speak out, that speak up. And in truth, they're helping the people that will be or are newly awakened. Okay, they're helping them find their way into higher and higher and higher truths. I don't know if you remember, but I spoke about this, I don't know, I've no idea, about a year ago, where, you know, some people have chosen to be that. And in a sense, they've sort of slowed down their ascension into higher consciousness in order to help more people, the vast majority of people on the planet. So they're true heroes. They really are, because they're choosing to be of service to the masses, as opposed to just focusing on their own path. So that there's a tiny group there. But what I want to talk about is this big group of people that are awakened, that are on their spiritual journey. Perhaps they've been on it for 30, 40 years. Perhaps they've been on it for 9 years. And everything in between. Okay? That's the point I want to speak again about, that I spoke about a while ago, years ago. Sorry, it's just people passing by. Because a lot of people in the spiritual arena are facing intense struggle and suffering right now. And if you're one of those awakened people that aren't putting your energy too much into world events, and you're focusing on your individual path of enlightenment, expansion of consciousness, then that struggle will still present to you, but it will be personal. So do you see, there's all these different ways to present struggle to every individual on the planet in this collective timeline. They're the people that really I want to speak in detail about, because I've you know, I can feel them on the Facebook and also on the YouTube, and I know a lot of people are struggling, and they can't seem to see a way out of it. It's that deep, and that you could call it dark in terms of density, where they just cannot see a way out of it. They're highly awakened people, but they're just in the depths of pain, numbness, and they don't know what to do. So they're in the unknowing. They're in a huge state of uncertainty, which every single person on the planet is in. So they're aware of that. They're aware of the teachings. They're aware that, you know, to find peace in not knowing, to actually relax into not knowing and find your inner peace in not knowing. They're aware of all of this, but still, they're in the depths of mental and emotional struggle, and it's like perhaps being thrown into a big dark hole, and you just don't know how to get out, and you haven't got the energy to get out either. You just don't know how to. So that's who I want to speak to today in detail, because it's okay where you are. where you are, if you're in that, is absolutely perfect for your path. And I want to tell you why. And as always, you know, please take what resonates. If this doesn't resonate, just let it go. I'm only speaking from my own experience of having been there a couple of years ago. So, there's a point to the depth of struggle and pain those people, highly awakened, are in. There's an absolute point. And when you come out of that, you'll understand it. You'll understand it from your own personal experience of it. What I want to say before I go into that is to explain that, you know, over the years I've talked about these stages that we go through of the path. There's something highlighted to me quite recently that I never thought about, but I feel it's a really, really good point to make, is that we go through these, we all have our different stories, our different lives, our different personality, our different experiences. But when it comes to becoming a higher degree of consciousness with a body, we all have to go through the same stages. It's one light program fits all. Now, I've said that year in, year out, but what I never said, which is a really good point, is to tell you that it's not one step and then you finish that step and then you go to the next step and then you have to get through that period and then you get to the next step. It's not 3D linear mind way of thinking about these stages. So at school, you go from first grade to second grade to third grade to fourth grade, yeah? And you have to pass exams and that sort of thing at every stage. It's not, that's linear mind. That's 3D way of teaching, of evolving a human being into a very controlled program, right? To conform. Right. In terms of sending your consciousness into the consciousness you already are, the consciousness that has designed your lighted crystalline program for you, and you are running in forgetfulness. If I show you this, of just the different dimensions, which way should I point it? That way. If I show you that, we're always, and these are we're always doing this. We're always doing this, yeah? We're always moving. Our frequency as human beings is always going from this frequency, and then it goes down, and then it might go back up, and then it goes down. It's always fluctuating. Dimensions, which we can call lighted programs, they also fluctuate. Everything's a micro of the macro. So dimensions fluctuate. We're always doing this through the dimensions. 1 minute we could feel and experience our own consciousness as what we call 3D. And the next minute could be 4D. And then it could be 5D or 7D. Okay? We're always fluctuating. But the stages of what we call ascension, the stages to enlightenment, enlightenment meaning, what I call enlightenment is God consciousness. That's what I call it. It's seeing as God sees, feeling as God perceives the world, etc. But those stages aren't that you go through one stage, finish it, and then you go on to the next stage. You're always dipping in and out of different stages. It's multiple. You're in multiple stages all the time. It's not linear. It's not one after the other after the other. It's this, because your consciousness is always doing this. So you're actually in this stage and that stage and this stage and this stage. And that's why we revisit things again and again. Now, why do we revisit things? Because, and this is just an analogy because it's not strictly true, we're spiraling up in energy. So something, and this is just like an analogy, something we went through, experienced, thought we had cleared down here, yeah? We thought we'd done it, cleared it. It appears again up here. Why? Because there's something else to see at a higher level. There's another elephant in the room that we couldn't see down here. We're always doing this. We're always vibrating at different frequencies, and every stage of the path, although we share it together, it's the same light design. We're always in these different stages, multiple stages, all at the same time. So never think that, oh, because it's just still in your mind, never think, oh, well, I've not reached that stage, so, you know, I'm failing, I'm doing something wrong. What am I doing wrong? I'm really trying. I try so hard. But I'm not at that stage that person thinks about, so obviously I'm rubbish, and I'm, you know, you're just putting yourself down in the mind. Look at that, look at the putting yourself down in the mind rather than what stage you're at, because you're accessing all these different stages all the time. Okay, totally digressed again. Where was I? The vast majority, well, not the vast majority, but a huge chunk, if we said this is awakened, yeah, there's a significant amount of people awakened that are struggling right now. They've done a lot of their work, one heck of a lot of their inner work, to clear behavioral patterns and belief systems. So I want to tell you that stage and what it leads to hopefully give you comfort in what you're experiencing. See, when I go through my stages, I literally have nobody to talk to, but I designed it that way. The beauty of my path is that I get to understand the stages as I go through them, so that I can help people when they're going through the same stages, because I can spot them, yeah? Because I've already walked them, I've already gone through them. So it's a hard path, in a sense, but it's set up that way in order to support. Okay, I just want to take a breath so that I can really put this in the highest possible way for awakened that feel like they're at that all-time low. So it's not a mini death. It's, you know, we go through lots of deaths as we spiral up, lots of mini deaths. It's not that. It's much bigger than that. That's how it feels. So I just want to take a moment just to be quiet so that I can explain this in the clearest possible way to you if you feel you're at this stage of total despair. You feel so down, you don't know how to get back up. You're tired of the world. You're tired of the spiritual community. Nothing anyone says helps. Nothing. So let's just take a moment, if that's okay. You have to reach this stage. You have to be in it. You've cleared so much of yourself, so much of the human distortions, programs within you. You see so much. But you have to reach a stage that everybody will reach. where you look out onto the world and there's nobody there that can understand you the way you understand yourself. Nobody. Nobody. And there's nothing wrong with that, and I want to explain why. There's a point on the path for everyone. Where they feel that much in despair and down based on what they have gone through as an individual, that they know no matter what they say to anyone out there in their holographic reality, nobody is going to understand them, because nobody has walked their path. Nobody was there when they were 6 or 8 or 18 or 25 or 33 or 68 or 75. There's no one person that's been there the whole of that time. So it all builds up and builds up and builds up, and they feel completely alone. You can have your best friends, you can have your partner, you can have your family that perhaps you're close to. But you know at that point on the path that if you speak to them about how you're feeling, not one of them is going to truly 100% understand you the way you understand yourself and have experienced your life up to that point. And that is when you reach despair. That's when you get down here into that bottom of the darkness, the cave, and reach utter and complete despair. It's also at that point that you look out onto the spiritual arena and realize that that too is also illusion. It is also a holographic reality. I've always said 4D is a space you traverse through. You don't stop. You can set up home there if you want to for many years. But eventually you're going to be catapulted out of it, because you're not destined. Nobody is destined to stay in 4D. It's literally a transit dimension that you go through. So when you look out to the spiritual community at this despair point, there's nobody. You just hear people talking, and none of it is relevant to you and how you feel in that point of despair, uncertainty, not knowing. So you can have many friends, and this is what happens in the spiritual arena is what we do. Let me just backtrack. We wake up from the 3D. So in the 3D, we think that that is the only reality. It's the only one we can live by, because we think that's all there is. And perhaps when we die, if we've been a good girl or boy, we'll go to heaven. So we wake up from the 3D. This is really important to try and grasp if you can, and retain the information, because it will help you later when you're on your own. We wake up from the 3D realizing that actually there's more to existence than that reality. But when we wake up within the dream. We're still in the dream in 4D. So we're aware that there's more, but our humanness, our personality is still inside the dream, in 4D. And that's why we traverse 4D. That's why it's a passageway. Because in a way, it strips away all these overlays of personality that just aren't true of us, including that we're human. Human is an experience for what we are. We are consciousness experiencing one perception. It's like, if this is consciousness, we're experiencing this over here, which is being human with a body. It's a part of us. It's not the whole of us. Being human is not the whole of us. It's a part, it's a facet, it's an experience for our consciousness. So when we wake up from the 3D, we realize that that isn't just all there is. But we're still in the dream. And that's what 4D is. You're still in the dream, learning, letting go, letting go. So let's go back to what I'm talking about, which is this density and suffering and pain that a lot of people in the 4th dimension say are going through right now. You have to reach that point of realizing that 4D is also illusion. And when you realize that, you wake up again. You wake up from being in the dream. You come outside of the holographic reality. So just to say that really in a summary, 3D, you think it's the only reality. You wake up from that, but you're still in the dream itself as the human personality, thinking you're human, thinking your personality is you. And that's the transitory journey through 4D. But you're still in the dream, watching it, observing yourself, until it's time for you to, if that's the dream, and you're still in it here in the 4D, until it's time for you, your consciousness, to go, come out of the dream. And from here, you see that 4D is illusion, 3D is illusion, because you're here. But your human body and your human mind has to go through that understanding. It's not something you learn, it's something you experience yourself individually on your own, each and every one of us. And it's hard. It's hard. So going back to the pain and an utter low, the uncertainty, the not knowing, almost like a death, but not a death, because by this stage of the collective timeline, a lot of people awakened have gone through many of the mini deaths. This isn't that. It's when you realize, and I've spoken about this before in a live, I know, maybe a year ago, 2 years ago maybe, but when you reach that stage where you realize there's nobody outside of you you can talk to, because you realize that they are coming from their own perception, they're coming from their own personality, they're coming from their own life lived, not yours. When you realize that there is nobody on this planet that is gonna understand you truly at your depth except you, it's then that you feel so alone, so isolated. And when you reach that point of feeling, and this is where I've got literally goosebumps, and it could be tears, just warn you. Laughter, tears. So it's when you reach that point of truly understanding that no matter how many friends, no matter how many groups, no matter how much human support seems to be out there for you, or maybe there is, maybe there isn't, that the only person that understands you as deeply as you understand yourself, the only one that understands you isn't a human being outside of you in the holographic reality. The only one that has ever understood you and will ever understand you is God, Source, Creator, whatever you want to call the Creator. It's at that point of despair, at not being understood for the totality of your experience, of your feelings, of your emotions. And this applies to this bulk of people now, highly awakened. It doesn't matter if you have a partner or a close family member, they still don't understand you from your point of perception. They never will. Because there's only one that understands you from your point of perception. And that's God. It's the God within you, the God that has always been residing as you, within you. And it's that point of despair and realization, self-realization, that you turn inward and God becomes your best friend. Because it is Creator, it is the God within you that knows exactly how you feel. The God within you that knows your thoughts before you, in your humanness, have even had the thought. Because it's all wavelengths coming into the brain. That God within you has always been there for you for the whole of your life. It always will be, it always shall be, it cannot not be. Because everything was made from God originally. And this is what, in this environment, people have forgotten. We were supposed to forget for whatever reasons. But the point is, for this collective program, the point is there comes a time when you remember. You remember the God within you. So it takes the despair, it takes the rock bottom point. When you really reach the point of seeing and understanding that there's nobody and there never will be anybody outside of you that's going to understand you the way you understand yourself. And it's at that quiet moment on your own that you turn to God, who has always been there for you. Always. The God we negated. The God we negated because we became the personality that thought it knew better, that thought it knew best, that wants to control its life, and maybe, for other people wants to control the lives of the people around them. Yeah, human knows best. No, God knows best. That is the turning point that people are gonna experience now. But you have to go down, down, down to then come up, up, up. And then God becomes your best friend. God becomes the one you speak to. God becomes the one that you rely on. God becomes the one that holds you when you're sad or misunderstood by people. There's always this one presence that is always, always, always there for you. God becomes your best friend, and the one each human being, one by one, turn to within. So there's the stage that I wanted to explain, that I feel many people awakened are facing right now. And there's an absolute beauty to that stage. It may be painful. It may feel that you're at the depths of despair. But it takes those depths of despair. It takes the lack of being understood, of being misperceived. It takes all of that for you to get to the point of realizing what you can turn to that is always supporting you and always has the many negated. And that is just a stage. And bear in mind that, as I said, the stage is a fluid. It's not that you go to this stage and then this stage and then this stage. The stage is, your consciousness is dipping into each different stage of what we describe as ascension, which in truth is just self-realization. It's the expansion of our consciousness into a higher level or frequency of consciousness. So I've just described a stage that I feel a lot of awakened are in. But once that best friend is seen, that you can turn to in any single moment. You don't have to pick up the phone. You don't have to have a video call. There's always this being there for you that understands you, that has compassion, that has patience, that understands every single emotion, that never judges you, ever judges you. Because it knows already, it created you, it is you, it is waiting to be self-realized in you. In you. It was always there. And then what follows that beautiful holding between you and God. Because once it's there, it's always there. It's always there to turn to. What evolves then as another stage, and I want to touch on these multiple stages again, but what happens then after that is, because you chose God above the personality, above the reality, above the human, you chose God, you then start to feel the essence of God within you. And the essence of God is an energy. And it's when you start to feel the essence, I call it essence because it's energy and it's vibration. When you start to feel the essence of God within you, you then start to feel the essence of God in everything outside of you. And then that kind of cements your experience and your understanding of what is real, and that everything actually is God, waiting to be seen by you. You have to realize God within you to see God on the outside of you. And then it becomes God seeing God, seeing God, seeing God, whether it's an animal, a bird, a human being, a plant, a Coke can, a piece of plastic. You can see at this higher frequency and you can feel the essence of God outside of you. Why? Because you have chosen the God within, which is energy, vibration. And the reason I'm saying these steps, this is a really good analogy of these steps being fluid. They're not one after the other, is that everybody, and this could make me cry quite easily. Everybody on this planet has felt the essence of God. They've already felt it. Everyone. It's just they didn't know what it was. They've never realized it. Or, well, some have, yes, but there's nearly 8 billion people on this planet, and every single one of them has felt the essence of God within them. They just labeled it as something else. They labeled it through their human perception, their personality perception. I'll give you an example. That essence of God doesn't speak. It doesn't focus on words said or spoken to it, yeah? It's vibration. It's energy. So you or a friend, and I'll always remember this because it was an experience I had when I wasn't awoke. I turned the corner of a lane, and I'm sure you can relate to this, and everybody on the planet can relate to this, I was walking the dogs and turned the corner of a lane, a country lane in England, just a tiny road in the countryside. And I didn't know what was round the corner. But when I went round the corner, there was this scene. There was a meadow of grass. There was a small pool of water. And there were cows, young and old, drinking from the pool of water. And behind that scene was the sun going down of golden light. And as I turned the corner and I was yakking away, I stopped and saw the scene. And for that split second, I was in no thought. I was just in awe. It was like silence at the beauty. And in that moment of silence is the essence. And then what happens is the brain then kicks in and says, oh my God, look at those cows. Isn't this beautiful? Wow, look at the sun. And as soon as the mind kicks in with its noisy thoughts, you can't feel it anymore because the personality has taken over. It's the same when a child is born and the mother sees their child for the very first time. You're speechless, and there's this silence. And in that silence, you're experiencing the essence of God. Everyone on this planet has felt it, but not known what it was. But we're moving, and moving at such a fast speed now. It's still going to take time, yeah, because we're in this linear time where we experience through time. It takes time because it's too much for the linear brain to comprehend and adjust to if it was at such a speed. So everything is step by step, stage by stage. But, you know, in parallel to our human steps and our steps of courage and our steps of pain and suffering, what's happening is our energetic vibration is raising and raising and raising and raising, and nothing can stop it now. Nothing. You know, at an individual level we can get slowed down, but that's all. It can't be stopped. So I hope some of that has helped in understanding that, you know, everybody is facing, you know, they may be fine today, but tomorrow or next week they might be facing this difficult period of pain, suffering, uncertainty, not knowing. Well, when you have faith in God, you don't need to know a thing. You just trust. You trust in the moment. And if you are struggling right now, can I just suggest, in any moment you suffer, I just suggest, just come back to right here, right now. So I'm talking about yourself, I'm not talking about me, okay, and the video. If you're suffering for any reason, come back to being present right here, right now. You could be in the kitchen, you could be out on the street, you could be suffering because somebody is saying something to you, or you're watching something on multimedia. But just come back to being present. Be here right now. Because what you'll find is in every single present moment, there is the absence of suffering and the absence of pain, the absence of turmoil, of not knowing. They don't exist when you're present. And there lies your peace to regain. So I hope that helps. I think I've taught for a very long time, it feels. This is a stage. And everybody is at different, experience levels of consciousness. I've said for a little while that I can't wait for the time when people start talking about God, about the divine, about source, creator. Because when that timeline comes, they'll be realizing God within them. And that's where we can create from. Where it's no longer about the personality self and what the personality wants and needs for itself. It becomes a true service with God, a communion with God within you. And imagine a world where everybody serves for one. Because in the perception, that's all there is. It's no longer separated. So it's a hard stage for people. It's a hard stage perhaps for your family and your friends. If it isn't now, it will be, or it already has been, because everybody's experiencing it in tiny different timelines. It's a hard stage, but I just want to say, have faith. Have faith, because you get through it. You wouldn't be here if you weren't. And even those that do depart from us, and just have faith that life doesn't end. The consciousness just goes on. It doesn't stop. All that stops is their body. That's all. The physical body. But their consciousness doesn't stop. It just carries on into another frequency experience. So they're not lost. They're absolutely not lost. They're cheering you on because you're choosing to stay. So be strong. And when you can't be strong, just come back to the present moment, to this now. And there is peace in every single now moment. You only worry and struggle when you think about the future and what you want, or you think about the past. If you just come right here, in this very moment, what's happening? What is really happening? Actually, everything's okay. Everything's more than okay. And you can just breathe into your heart space and expand out as energy to the whole of your body. Don't push that energy out. It's not a physical push. It's an energetic push. You breathe into your heart center, wait a few moments, and then expand that energy out to the whole of your body. Feel it. It's a feeling, okay? It's not a physical of breath, push. It's an energetic feeling. You push that energy out to the whole of your body. And if you keep doing those breaths into the heart center, wait 3 or 4 seconds, and then push that energy out to the whole of your body. You'll soon feel better. If you feel tense and your muscles are tense, do this heart breath. If your head feels tense and you've got headache, do this heart breath. Push the energy up to your mind, to your brain, and you'll find those muscles start to relax, relax, relax. All right, I'll shut up. That was a long gab. So I hope somehow that's helped. I'm just seeing a lot of people asking for help. They're definitely asking for help with how low they're feeling. You're not on your own at all. Never think that for a moment. It feels like you're on your own. Why? Because you have to do it yourself. We each do it ourselves, but we're doing it together. Have faith. Right, I leave it there. God bless you all. And I'll upload this to YouTube when I get home, so that any of your friends that aren't on Facebook, they can just go over to Amanda Lawrence on the YouTube and watch it there, okay? If you feel it help anybody, let them know. It's all perfect. It's all designed. You have to see the greater picture, God's design, not humans' design, not humans' desire even, and not even the galactic design. No, go higher. See God's divine plan for itself. Have faith. Trust in God. That's what I say anyway. But just ignore it if it doesn't make any sense or you don't resonate, okay? Lots of love to you all. Take care, and just know you're loved. Always. In every single moment. There's not one moment that you breathe that you are not loved. Okay. God bless.